Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to what is a one palette 5 looks with a review slash first impressions, in the sense that it is not a first impression because I've used this palette for 2 weeks, but it's not a review because there's infinite shades. As you have imagined by the title, we are talking about the Morphe 35M Boss Mood palette. Here she is right here, and you can see why I was attracted to this palette. The greens, the poopy browns, the bright pops of color. This palette, I resisted to it for a long time. I tried at least, then there was a sale, it was like 25% off, and I purchased it. All good. There are multiple reasons to want this palette and multiple reasons not to. My bottom line with it is that you don't need this palette. It is not going to change your life. It is not something so unique that you will never find anything like it in your collection. And overall, yeah, you just don't need it. It is a nice palette. It has a nice shade range, and that is where it all lies. Some of the positives for me, I was of course attracted by this top part, but also there are a lot of duos in mind here. So let me use my mirror so I can actually show you. So you can see that this shade and this shade are similar to each other. One shimmer, one matte, same as these two, same as these two, these two, these two, these two-ish. It's more like these two actually. You have the blacks, you have the dark purples, you have this other red and the browns. They're all in duos at least, and I really like that because I wear often monochromatic makeup, so I will do crease in shades of one color and the shimmer in the same color on the eyelid, and that is my preferred way of doing makeup, and this palette for that works well. You also can create very nice combinations of color because the purples with the orange, or the purples with the greens, the poopy browns with the greens like I have today, and the reds will look all very good together actually. You shouldn't do too much of color mashing, I would say, but these are colors that will fit nicely together. So overall, if it's the colors that are drawing you in, there's a good reason for it. I can totally understand that. I'm trying to not reflect the window, but it's, for a change, it's the middle of the day, so maybe like this, like this. And I was talking about colors. Even with this amount of diversity, which I think is very nice and different for Morphe, there are a lot of shades that are redundant or look the same on the eye. Like these two eyeshadows, quite similar. Do you need both? Probably not. And you have similar with these 3 reds, and like, do I need all 3? No. And that is a little bit the things. Whereas, for example, I would have liked a cooler toned purple to go with these cool toned purples, whereas there's only the berry and the reds, which make it a little bit more difficult. So there are shades that are redundant in here, but not as badly as usually for Morphe, I have to say. When it comes to the quality of the eyeshadows, the mattes are not up to my standards, let's say. I cannot just pick up a brush, dip it in the eyeshadow, swirl it on my eye, and be done and go to work. It is definitely a palette that needs a little bit of work, and on the opposite spectrum, let's say, of Subculture. Subculture needed work because the eyeshadows were so pigmented and they needed to be placed carefully and blended carefully. In this case, instead, I think the fault in the formula is that they are a little bit too dry, not enough binder in it, and that means that when you apply them, they kind of catch on parts of your eye. And especially, you should not set your eye primer. That is something that I always do, for example. A friend of mine on Instagram, Jazzy, she gave me this tip and she said, if it's not working for you, try not setting your primer. And I was like, oh, but yeah, isn't that gonna make them catch even more? Instead, not setting the primer and applying the eyeshadows with a denser pencil brush definitely fixed a lot of the problems that I was having. However, these mattes still don't really blend as effortlessly as I liked. You will see all of this in the 5 looks that I will be showing you in this video, but I want really to first give you my review and yeah, my thoughts on the palette. As I said, I am sure that my thoughts will keep evolving as I use the palette, because it's such a big palette. There are so many different combinations that you can make, and I haven't used all the shades on my crease, for example. One notable shade, which I didn't use in the tutorials, but you may have seen on my Instagram stories, is, for example, this orange right here. Beautiful orange. I used it for the first time under my eye, and that is also what you're gonna see it in the first look. And it worked really well, very bright and pigmented. But then I applied it on my crease to use it as a transition shade, and it was patchy, grabby. I couldn't make it work with a fluffy brush, with a dense brush. I couldn't get it to work. So I haven't done this specific testing for each and every shade, and that's why I cannot call it a comprehensive full review, but I think it's enough for me to let you know how I feel about the palette. The shimmers, on the other hand, are quite nice and pigmented. However, you will not be able to apply them dry very effectively. So what I do is actually take my little essence brush that I use for all my foiled eyeshadows. I dip it in and pick up the product, and then with Fix Plus, I will spray on it. You'll see me do it in almost every look, if not in every look, with this palette, and that is my preferred way to apply these shimmers. I've had this look on, for example, for I think we're going to 5 or 6 hours right now, and you can see that the luminosity is still there. There is no creasing. It still works very well. So the formula of the shimmers is nice. Nothing spectacular. It works very well, and I like that you have a very wide range of color. I said a range, it's an array or range, but that's okay. I would only recommend this palette to those of you who, like me, enjoy working with color, enjoy spending time on makeup in the morning, and then you're gonna get the use out of it. You also must not have a job where you cannot wear color, of course, or crazy makeup. Because this one that I am wearing right now is one of the most muted looks that I did so far with the palette, and this is, for me, absolutely work appropriate. This is just a normal work makeup for me. I would go out anytime to do anything with this, to be honest. So if you do enjoy that, I think you would enjoy this palette, but you don't have to rush out and buy it, in my opinion. Now that the blabbing went on and on, I will leave you with the 5 makeup looks. I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let me know down below if you have any other questions on the palette. I can also do a follow-up video once I've used it longer, but since I've had it now for 2 weeks, I thought it's a good time to actually tell people how I feel. Let's get into these tutorials. I am starting off this green look with my eye primed but not set. This was a tip that I received from my friend Jazzy on Instagram to try and get this formula to work, and it works. The technique works. I'm starting with the shade Stroke of Luck on a pencil brush and applying this to my upper crease to make for my first crease color. As I was mentioning, I was having a hard time, you've probably seen it on Instagram stories, to get these eyeshadows to blend and work the way I'd like them to. And that is because initially I was using them just like my usual shadow. So I would prime my eye, then set it with a skin-toned color, to set, and then windshield wiper motions, apply the color and blend it all in one. Here instead, with these eyeshadows, I'm doing a little bit what James Charles recommended to do with his palette, which is instead applying and packing and then blending out the edges. So this is what we're gonna do today with this eye look. And this is one of my favorite, more spring green makeups. I'm then taking the shade Express Yourself, and that is slightly darker, and putting that a little bit deeper in the crease to deepen up and create a gradient. And that is one of the good things about this palette, is the fact that you have quite a few greens that are close to each other, but either different in undertone or in depth, so you can really create a good gradient. And with color, actually, I find that that is quite important because it takes less time if you can just do a gradient by layering shades that are of the same color and just different depth. Then with a tiny pencil brush and the shade green with Envy, I am starting to deepen up the outer V. And this is not the easiest shade to work with, but in the end it works out fine to deepen up green looks. I like that there is a green eyeshadow in here, and in the end you see that it blends out fine. It reminds me a little bit of the Jaclyn Hill Vault shades, the dark ones, that they're not wonderful, but they're not horrible. And yeah, okay, this might even be a little bit better than that. And then I blend that out with the brushes I used before, without any additional product. Now that the structure of the matte look is done, I'm going to take the shade Popstar on my brush and then wet it when it's on my brush. I don't want to wet the brush before because I'm afraid of hard panning this shade. It's very soft and it reminds me a little bit of one of the metallics in Subculture that hard pans really quickly, and I want to prevent that. I think it's just because there is a lot of emollients in the formula to make it a metallic and a soft metallic to the touch. But again, I also wanted to apply it with my brush. Here we go in not difficult half cut crease. I'm taking the shade Standout next and applying that on the outer corner so that we have the same texture, the shimmer on all of the lid, but then darker to lighter. I think the two work very well together. Now to the lower lash line, I'm using this Yves Rocher Botanical Color Eye Pencil, and the shade is 14 Capucine, I don't know. And I'm just applying it in my inner corner. I think Colourpop still also does a orange liner, but I really like it for spring. And this is what I have in my collection. Then with a smudger brush and the shade Fired Up, I am gonna smudge that lower lash line. And this shade is beautiful when used like this, in a very small confined way and concentrated. I have used this on my lid like I did the green, and oh my goodness, was that bad. I'm taking a clean brush and blending the edges here. Then applying the shade Bright Eyes on the lower inner lash line. And this shimmer is so beautiful. It has a lot of glitter, golden glitter in it. So it is a little bit difficult to apply if you want to apply it on the whole lid. And with the other side of the brush, I'm taking the same shade as we used on the lid and apply it on the inner corner. So to have a continuous layer. So here it is, lashes and mascara, and I'll be right back. Okay, and this is the first finished look with the Morphe 35 M palette with the greens, and I really like this. I like the way it comes out. I paired it with some orangey nudes, quite toned down, because I thought that was a better way to go about it. And this is something I've worn before. Lipstick on my teeth. This is something I wear out during the day. And all of these eyeshadows performed really, really well. For the second look, I am going to start with the shade Candy Crush in my crease again with my pencil brush. And this is really important. Again, I will stress it in every look to first apply the color before you blend it out. This palette will not work with your traditional application method of a fluffy brush. I will then take a fluffy brush and start blending the edges, and this will be an iterative process of blending, applying and blending. It is not unheard of that these bright colors have these issues with the, let's say, application, or they're not the easiest thing to apply. And yeah, this is a bit of a negative, let's say, for this palette, in my opinion at least. It means that it takes me a little bit longer to use and a little bit more, yeah, fluff, let's say. Also, my apologies for the light, but I'm filming before going to work, and the sun rises in front of me, and it's going back and forth in the clouds. Like right now. Okay, I had to close the curtain. That was ridiculous. I am taking the shade Sweet Beets on a flat brush and applying it all over the lid. And you can see how similar these shades are. I am not really sure that we needed both of them in this palette, to be honest. And I'm also taking Sweet Beets again with a brush in the crease to intensify the color. And then with the same brush in the shade FOTD, which is an even darker shade of the same color, I'm gonna intensify the outer corner. Then I'm taking a little bit of Vampy Vixen in the crease to bring down the redness. Because it's more of a reddy brown, it will bring down the red and give it a little bit more of a brown tone. And blending everything out again with a fluffy brush, just so that my lines are not so stark. Also, somehow they're looking different. I don't know how that happened. With my flat brush and the color that is called Color Persona, this is interesting, I'm going to start by applying the shimmer on the eye. And this, as you can see, doesn't really apply very nice with a brush, so I'm going back in with my finger to get some of that metallic on my eye. Unfortunately, then it will smudge in my inner corner, and that is just because finger application is so imprecise. And that's also something I don't per se enjoy so much about this palette. To ground the look, I'm going in with a brown pencil on my lash line. I'm just smudging in a little bit, upper and lower. And then with the little smudger brush and the shade Vampy Vixen again, on the lower lash line, and connecting with the upper. I'm crying like crazy. And then taking Light of the Party on the inner corner for brightening. And by using a brown along the lash line, you will also break the redness so that it doesn't look like you have a red eyes, or pink eye, I guess it's called. Now a good coat of primer and mascara. And here is the finished look, and I paired it with Anastasia Beverly Hills Rosewood and a neutral, quite neutral cheek, I would say. For look number 3, I'm starting with the shade Face of the Day, or FOTD, with my pencil brush in my crease. These red shades really do stain though from the Morphe 35M palette, so user beware, buyer beware I guess, but they really do stain, so keep that in mind. Again, going in with a fluffy brush to blend that color out and make the transition a little bit more seamless, and then intensifying a little bit more the crease. I'm having a bit of an issue to have the shade actually stick to this part of my eye, and I don't know why. I have primed it like the rest, so I'm not sure. Then with a teeny tiny brush and the shade Power Slayer, I am going into my crease for more depth and more purple, as well as in my outer V for depth and purple. If you've seen a few of my latest tutorials, you've seen that normally mattes behave better than this on the outer corner. And purples are hard, but this is quite a dark and muted purple, so I wasn't expecting it to have any issues, to be honest. On my lid, I'm taking Grape Expectations and wetting my brush, and then applying it in the first half of my eyelid. Then on the other side of the brush, I'm taking Indie Glow Queen and applying it on the outer V to cover that mess of a matte. And then taking that small brush again, I am going to blend the crease a little bit more, and with a bit more of Power Slayer, intensifying still. On the lower lash line, I'll be applying this Maybelline Lasting Drama pencil in Polished Amethyst. And then smudging it out. And setting it with Grape Expectations again. For my inner corner, I'm going to be layering Stroke of Luck, with this, which is the green matte, the lightest green matte, first. And you see that without the light base, this does not really show up as bright as you see it in the pan. And then I'm taking Pop Star on top of that to give it a bit of a shimmer. One more coat of mascara just to refresh what I had on already. Here is the third look with the 35M palette, and as you've seen, I have had quite a few issues with the blendability of the mattes. Let's move on to the next look. For look number 4, we're getting into a little bit more neutrals. We've played with color quite a little bit. And I am starting with my eye again, prepped but not set, and the shade Peachy Keen, which is a baby puke eyeshadow shade, I would guess. The first time I used this, I had actually quite a bit of issues. It wouldn't blend, it looked really patchy, and that was as I had set my primer. Now, I was pleasantly surprised because I actually wanted to create this look to show you how this shadow would not blend, and now it blends fine. I think it looks quite okay. Just checking that everything is blended up here as well. It looks quite okay, and it blends really nicely. So now I don't know what I believe anymore. Then I'm taking the shade Talk Dirty on a smaller brush and intensifying the crease and the outer V. Another nice brown. This never gave me any issues. It just works well, blends well. I have to say that the formula of these mattes is not my favorite of all. They're a bit drier and stiff than I like my mattes to be. So, not my favorites, but they're working quite well. With my tiny brush, I'm taking the darkest brown that is called Sparks Fly and really deepening up the outer V and the crease. And blending everything out just to keep it all smooth and seamless. Then on my flat shader, I'm taking the shade Hot Stuff. My battery cut out, but I was applying it to my lid. I really like this shade. It's a very, very nice bronze. Really like it. I have a ton of fallout now underneath. I felt the eyeshadows fall. So I'm gonna do a swishy swish. It's probably also my fault for applying my eyeshadow after my base, but so it is. With my NYX Faux Black Liner, I'm gonna line my upper lash line and my waterline. And then smudging it out with the shade Talk Dirty, which is the second brown we used. For the inner corner, I'm taking the only inner corner highlight that is in this palette, which is Light of the Party. And I'm a little bit sad that this is the only inner corner highlight, actually, that there is. You can pop on lashes, and I will just refresh my mascara. I think this might be the 4th layer of mascara that I have now on, but it is the perks of doing so many looks in one day. And this is the finished look with the 35M neutrals. I really like it. These are some of the shades that I prefer in the palette. Let's move on to the last look. Final look using this palette. I'm starting with the shade Play It Cool in my crease. This is the other poopy brown, let's say. And again, it's a bit of a hit or a miss whether it's gonna blend well or not. It seemed to have blended well on this side. And let's see on the other one. And that is one of the things that I am a little bit upset about this palette, is the fact that you cannot be sure it's gonna work out every time you use it. Which, to me, wearing makeup to go to work on a daily basis, I kind of want to know that whatever I put on is gonna work out. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to redo my makeup, which I don't have time for. But it seems like a good day today. Then with the shade Nude Tude in my crease, this is a very nice olivey, grungy green. I really like it. And this look, however, I think I could have created with any of my single shadows that you've seen in my single shadow collection video. I will link that up in the cards, but I have plenty of these greens in my collection. Doesn't make it less pretty, but probably not the shade I would have bought the palette for. To deepen up the outer V, I'm taking Green with Envy again, and I really like, I said it in the first look, but I really like having a dark green to work with, and there is also a dark purple and a dark brown, and I like when they put in palettes very dark shades from different colors, because it makes for nicer colorful looks. On my lid, I'm taking Electric Energy, wetting my brush and applying it all over the lid. This is also very nice eyeshadow, and this is another look that I would call neutral, actually, because it is very wearable. On the other side of my brush, I'm taking Standout just to blend the dark matte with the dark shimmer and then the bright shimmer. On my lower lash line, I'm taking Neve Cosmetics Night and smudging it out again with Nude Tude just to tie it all in together. And in my inner corner again, the Light of the Party, which is the only inner corner highlight in this palette. I also think it's way too light. I don't usually wear such light eyeshadow in my inner corner. I'll put on some mascara and be right back. And here is the second look finished. I really like this. It's a very me look, very easy to apply, and everything blended up very nicely. Very easy to wear, nothing special, very nice. I hope you guys enjoyed all of these eye looks that I created with the Morphe 35M palette. If you want me to do more of these, it takes quite a little bit to film, as you might imagine. I've done it on different days, but if you enjoy it, I can do more of these, of course. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know down below if you got the palette, whether you liked it, or if I anyway influenced your decision on it. I am always open for discussion, and I want to hear what people have to say. And subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any other content, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!